All right, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video, we're going to do an update of the NFL Sportsdeck team going into round one of the week one, I should say, of the 2023-24 NFL season. So I guess the first thing you might notice is we do have a bit of money in the bank because I guess just having a bit of a final look through, there's just so much value that I want to be on. So going with the tactic of keeping a bit of money in the bank just in case one of our value picks flops. We do have the option to go on up to a more keeper type option, but I am pretty confident in all of the options I've got, and there's even other alternate value options that we have as well, I believe. But yeah, I guess looking at the team, the quarterback situation hasn't changed. We're sticking with Allen and Hurts as our two guns in the quarterback slots. Keeping in mind that quarterbacks do outscore every other position in this format. So you want to have, two big hitters here. I know Pat Mahomes is the most valuable or the most highly owned option. That could partly be off name alone. But, these guys do have the rushing upside, which we like. And I guess that point of difference as well, that's not Mahomes. And Anthony Richardson, I suppose, as the cheap option. He has the rushing upside as well. Um, we'll bring up the positions and we can have a look. We'll just go by ownership. So he's the most popularly owned option, as that cheap quarterback option. Guess the other big name options here, Jordan Love as a cheap option. He's definitely, the quarterback at Green Bay. And there's been a bit of hype about him, but I don't know if he has the rushing upside. Mahomes have talked about as the most popular keeper club option. Lamar Jackson, he has that rushing upside, so he could be a nice value pick if you're looking to save a little bit of money at quarterback. Um, Lamar Jackson is an option. Bryce Young, rookie quarterback. At the same price, I definitely prefer Richardson, but yeah, if you want to be a bit different and you believe in the sort of the assets that Carolina have, he could go okay. Justin Herbert and Justin Fields, both as more value keeper options. I don't mind. But obviously, not the ceiling, or I guess not the sort of consistency that you get out of the two selections I've made. Sam Howell's an interesting one. He's elevated in people's estimations through the preseason. So, if you have a bit of extra money and you want to go with I guess a slightly more proven option, he has played one NFL game last year and did quite well. You could start with Sam Howell. Trevor Lawrence and Aaron Rodgers, they're sort of mid-price options where, you'd really have to be, loading up in these other spots. But I think there is a lot more value there, so you can definitely give them a miss. CJ Stroud, is a bit of a wild shout as your cheap bench option, but he's the rookie price for a reason, so he will make some money, you'd think, just probably not as much as the other guys. And then, Brock Purdy, Joe Burrow, just Deshaun, Tua, we're getting into some more real pod territory there. So, yeah, we might just leave that conversation there. With the running backs, so I guess the change that I've made is I've got off of Tony Pollard and got Rashad White, and that purely just comes down to how much I love the value of the rookies. If it ever reloads again, it's going to get stuck in some sort of infinite loop, is it? No, there we go. So, yeah, so if we have a look at some of the more popularly owned running backs, so Bijan and Jameer Gibbs, rightly so, the top two, they're rookie price, but they will be starting and the number one options for their sides respectively. Christian McCaffrey, I could definitely afford to upgrade Barkley to CMC. Um, it's just a point of different move. I think McCaffrey will do well. As soon as I can afford him, he'll definitely be in my team for the run home. I'm happy to chase a little bit more value to start the season and play for a bit of luck. Alexander Madison. So I guess after the five I've selected, he's probably number six in terms of my value list. So he only just missed out because of that. But definitely, is the starter for now in Minnesota. Um, should get a bit of workload and definitely improve on that 8.9 average. Chubb, Pollard, Saquon, so I don't mind that as a pick. Austin Eckler, I can see why people would bring him in. I just think the Chargers they should have some more throwing options this year, so he might not quite get the passing workload, and he's getting a little bit older too, so a little bit chance of injury perhaps. Just yeah, just fading Eckler. Moment Charbonnet um, stuck behind Kenneth Walker Jr., so worth a bench spot given all the rest of the value we've got. James Cook I've obviously got and love the value of. Looks like he's getting really involved at the moment. If you've got Jonathan Taylor, you have to get out of his IR list. 4 weeks won't be playing, so you can obviously use that money to get one of these cheap options, or if you have a bit of cash, you can upgrade to another starter. Derek Henry solid. You can absolutely have him take XP. I guess him and Travis Etienne are doing a bit of job sharing, so he does have some value. But I have gone for out and out RB1s in my selection. Rashad White, as I said, is the guy I've brought in. He just looks like he's going to be a key piece of the Buccaneers offense. So wanted to get that value in my team, save myself a trade sort of thing. And then I guess the other player that I've got here that hasn't come up is 5% owned, Javonte Williams. So Denver have lost a few of the wide receivers, so they might lean on a little more. Javonte, he's been unlucky with injuries, but we're backing him in this year. No one really else to talk about majorly outside of that. There's a few sort of pod shouts throughout, but yeah, I think they're all about what they should be. In the wide receiver core, so a couple of changes here. I have got out of Amon-Ra St. Brown just because Devontae Johnson, I think, offers a lot more value. At $6 million less, and I was super unlucky with touchdowns last year. Um, so essentially, what I've got here is, I've still got the six wide receiver ones. Obviously, I could upgrade and the bench a little bit, but I found super cheeky value here with Gabe Davis. I don't know what's happened in the game, but it had him down as not having played at all last year. So, career stats, yeah, there's like absolutely nothing on him. But he is an established wide receiver too for the Bills. He's got Josh Allen thrown to him, so there's always chances around that. So I thought, well, I'd rather bank on that at the start of the season than having a shout on the likes of Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison. Yeah, so these sort of cheap options. So Justin Jefferson, I did toy with getting rid of him just because, he's obviously the number one wide receiver, but there's no real value there. But there's just so much value, that I could afford the luxury of bringing him in. So I just thought I'll lock him in and run with the pack on that. Jordan Addison, as I said, he is wide receiver too, but they also have Hawkinson there. Um, so, it'll just give him a chance to see how he goes. Obviously, if he's better than a Sky Moore or even a Gabe Davis, we can switch that nice and easy. Zay Flowers, same sort of thing. There's sort of the three there with Bateman, OBJ, and him. So I thought we'll just sit back and see how he goes. Um, Obviously got Ridley. Jamar Chase is a premium option you could absolutely have if you wanted. I've gone with Diggs at around the same price just to stack with Josh Allen. JSN is out with an injury, so I'd avoid him, given some of the other great options to start the season. Tyreek Hill, solid keeper option. Quentin Johnston sounds like he's not in the top three wide receivers at the moment, so I'd fade him if I had him. Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's not the worst pick, but like I said, I just wanted to chase more value. But if you are looking at someone around that price point, he's decent value. Olave, wide receiver one with Derek Carr just feeding him. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how that goes. Sky Moore, you know, there's a bit of issue around Kadarius Toney, so he'll be in the wide receiver two sort of conversation at the start of the year perhaps. And him and Mahomes do have that nice combination going. So yeah, I'm going to take the punt on Sky Moore. Cooper Cup, is slightly injured to start the season, so um, probably if you're one of the 14%, I'd look at trading down and just reassessing. Diggs, is a nice option. OBJ and Michael Thomas, they're definitely punts, but if they go off, you'll be well rewarded. CeeDee Lamb's a solid keeper option. George Pickens, a bit sort of nowhere. I'd rather Deontay Johnson. He'll be the wide receiver one and is cheaper than Pickens, so you could make that move. Yeah, Adams, AJ Brown, Debo, all nice options. I didn't realize Debo was so cheap. That's very tempting. I guess, if one of these two $10 million options doesn't go off, he's an easy trade in. DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Christian Watson. Yeah, I think the ownerships are about right. They could go off. Jonathan Mingo, I think, is good value. He's, well up on my list of cheap options to keep an eye out on. And then the other one as well, Marvin Mims, with Jerry Judy out, KJ Hamler out, Mims could hit the ground running in week one. So just one to keep an eye on. With the tight ends, I've gone away from the two cheapies just because I had so much money. I've brought in Darren Waller. He seems like the value pick in that mid price range, given he's going to get targeted quite a bit. So I do prefer him over Andrews, Kittle for that reason. Kyle Pitts offers great value at his price. Kincaid, he'll be the starting tight end at Buffalo, but could be more like a third wide receiver. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I picked him in one of my fantasy leagues just to see how he goes. Sam Laporta, I do like. I just think that I had to pick one, and so I've lent on Musgrave to start the year. But it was almost a toss of the coin there. I just think slightly more pottish, and um, yeah, I think Green Bay might throw the ball a little bit more. Detroit do have the likes of Jameer Gibbs that they can access as well. Um, Not to say Green Bay has terrible running backs with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, but I just feel like Musgrave's got a little bit more in the mix there, perhaps. But it's purely a punt. We'll see. And then after that, you could take a couple of flies here. Jake Ferguson has had some good reports, so a cheap option. Uh, it must be a fair way down the list. Juwan Johnson's one that everyone's talking about, but he's quite expensive in this format, so maybe worth a look. Definitely would prefer Darren Waller. And then the kickers haven't changed. These guys are both there on their respective teams. They're super cheap. San Fran and Dallas, they're a good chance of getting points that they can get off the back of. So, that's fine. And then because I had a bit of money, I did upgrade to the New Orleans defense. Um, Probably, I guess they've been identified as having the softest strength of schedule or the best strength of schedule, I suppose. Um, and they're traditionally a good defense, so happy to have them there. And the Chicago Bears are the cheapest, so they'll just sit on my bench all year. So, not planning to make any trades here throughout the year. It's all about filling in. Well, I guess the running back and wide receiver slots. As we progress through the year, we've got 24 trades to do that. And I guess if we sort of consider Jefferson, Diggs, Barkley as keepers, that's essentially 7 spots that we need to fill. So, you know, maybe one of these guys does take the leap and becomes a keeper. But yeah, I think I can live with Kelsey and Wallace there for the year. So, and obviously Allen and Hurt. So it is really just going to be upgrading these guys as they peak in value. And yeah, so you can see it's still a few days. Well, you can't see that behind my picture, but still a few days out from kickoff. The first game on Thursday night. Um, Kansas City's involved. I remember that's why Kelsey's got the VC. Are they playing Detroit? Fantastic. So yeah, can't wait. Friday morning, have a bit of a look. Um, Especially after I finish my morning classes and stuff. As the headset's pulled up, so it must be time to stop talking. But yeah, if you've got any thoughts around the team, please feel free to comment. If you're having a go as well, let me know. We might be able to patch together a little league or something. Um, but yeah, if you're enjoying the NFL fantasy content, remember give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. Very close to 100 subscribers. It's very exciting times. So even if you just want to give a random bloke talking about fantasy sports on YouTube a little lift in his day, give it a subscribe. We'll get the triple digis. And other than that, thanks for watching as always, and we'll catch you in the next one.